Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first, and I have the J. I do not have a bingo either as a 7 or an 8, but I've got a reasonable balance of vowels and consonants. Nearly a bingo by my opponent, but not one. Now, I do have jab as a 3-letter word, but there's nowhere to play that on the board. So, what else do I have? I have abject in column 3 onto the T of theine, and what's good about that is that it gets doubled and the C gets doubled as well. So that's going to be a reasonable score, and a rack leave of AR is fine. Badgerer is good, but there's nowhere great to play that. I'm looking in column 5 to see if I have a double-double through the E of theine. Can't see one. Can't see anything which plays the J which uses the H of theine. I certainly do want to play the J immediately. As long as I have the J, my bingo chances are limited. And I like abject because it also plays off the B and the C. B isn't particularly bingo-y, the C is a reasonable tile. So 40 points, wow, that's pretty good. And this looks promising. Do I have a bingo? It feels close. I've got the work prefix or suffix, and therefore I also have the works suffix. Do I have anything through any of the floaters? And there's quite a lot of floaters on the board at the moment. I'm thinking about kawaris. Not that I think it's good, but I feel that it's close to something good. What am I confusing that with? Now, what other prefixes and suffixes do I have? The W tends to feature in prefixes and suffixes. I've got where through the E of theine, either W-A-R-E or E-A-R. But that's no good. I ought to be able to resolve this rack, even if I don't have a bingo. Now, what else has my opponent supplied? Not very much. He's used the blank for only 35 points, which is good. Choir, well, takes an S after it. In terms of floaters, well, there's the R of choir. That doesn't really help me. It duplicates a tile on my rack, and I can't make use of the Q. So I'm looking for a non-bingo-y play, or a non-bingo play. And I certainly want to play off the W and possibly the K as well. If my O was an E, I would have skiware. Now I could play woks or works in row K for 36 points. That's a pretty big score. Can I do better? I'm looking to see if I can play parallel to abject in column 4. But I think the best I can do is OR at D4, and that retains the K and the W, and that's not good. It's only 25 points. So, well, what about playing jows across here? K isn't a bad tile to keep. 42 points. Yeah, and this is a balanced rack, and the K should score Next go. Ooh. That's pretty poor. Kuia is good. K-U-I-A. Can't see anywhere fantastic for that. And I've got Haiku at H4 down through the H of Theine. That should sort the rack out reasonably well. I've got a 21-point lead, which isn't very much at all, given that my opponent is on turn. Squire takes an E in front and a D and an S after it. I have none of those tiles. Through an R, I would have Raw Ricky, but the R of Squire is in the wrong place for that. Now I can't see anywhere for Kuia, so right now I'm looking at playing Haiku. I'm wondering if I can place my K at D1 and get the word doubled by playing across to D4. But I certainly do want to play off the U. In fact, I want to play off the U and resolve all my duplicates, so I'm looking at playing off A, I, and U. So Haiku and Kuia, if it's playable after my opponent's has moved, both achieve that. Quare does that as well, through the Q of Quire. 16 points. 24 points for Haiku, so Haiku is my preferred move at the moment. And Quare retains the K, and that's a good and a bad thing. The K does feature in some bingos. It's also a good scoring tile. But on balance, I think I'd rather play it. Yeah, no fabulous opportunities for my opponent, that my opponent's made available for me, rather. And Haiku has the advantage of hampering my opponent's use of the Squire end hooks. So 24 points. This is looking a little bit better. So an L I would have racially. Very few floaters on this board. And I can't see a 7-letter bingo. I don't have an S for hooking on the end of roll. I don't think roll takes any other hooks at the end. Now my Y can play at K5 next to the K of Haiku. But do I have a play coming down from that? What do I have that can go next to the U of Haiku? Just the arm. And anyway, that spot is taken. My opponent bingos for 80 points. He takes a 46-point lead. And I'm in a little bit of trouble, but there are a lot of tiles left, so I can turn this round. I've got Nyala down here. This should score reasonably well. It keeps the board open, and it provides extra floaters. So 36 points, rack leave of CIR is not bad, especially with the A of Nyala and Sinopia. And also the C goes at G8 in front of EL. Now, have I missed a bingo with this rack? I had racially through an L. Yeah, I think the only other floaters are A's and I's, which duplicate or triplicate tiles on my rack. Aha. Do I have something now? This looks good. There could well be a 7 here, and if there is, I think it's likely to play. There's a few floaters to consider. Now I have the S plural, I've also got the IST ending. 47 points for my opponent, that's a good score. He's now 57 points in front. So, do I have a bingo? And I could also have a bingo through the duplicate tiles, or sorry, the pairs of letters of Zar, L and La. Okay, I don't think I have anything through Tsar. EL looks promising. Nope. Now what about LA? With two S's I can imagine not having one of them, and therefore I'm looking for an 8-letter word, which will hopefully pluralise. Okay, can't see anything there. Now I may have a 7-letter bingo. Can't see it. P of Sinopia is a possible hook. No. Well, no, I do not have a playable bingo. I was looking at cross tie, which is good, but there's no available E. Now I've got over 13 and a half minutes left, so I'm not under time pressure. It would be really bad to miss a bingo here. What about the A of abject and Sinopia? Do I have anything through that? Ostracize is a 9-letter play, so that doesn't work. I've got the try prefix, I've got the IC ending, so I've got the ICS ending as well. Acrostics would require an extra C. Well, I can't see a bingo. What about the I of Sinopia? No. Well, this is going to be galling if I miss a bingo, because this would be the perfect time to come back with one. Well, I can't see one. Now what I can do is this. I can play cobs. It keeps the board wide open. Great rack leave. Decent score, 26 points. The only thing bad about this move is if I'm missing a bingo. I think I have looked long enough and not found one. That's not a good pickup unless I have a bingo playable through the A of Sinopia. I've only got one vowel. I drew 4 consonants. Can't see anything through the A. So do I have anything through the EL in row N? Nope. Okay, so I'm in the situation now of needing to resolve this rack with little prospect of scoring well. I'm 31 points behind, which, given that my opponent is on turn, is not good. I can't use the C of Cobs in column 1 to good effect. Certainly don't want to play off my S because I'm not going to score enough to justify it. And I'd like to keep the board open. So playing in and around Sinopia may restrict the board. 45 points for my opponent. That's a big score for him. I'm looking at playing in row C through the A of abject. I can play dad at C2, and the rack leave of INRST is pretty good, given that the A given the A of Sinopia is available. That leaves the trains combination. And dad also, well, I was going to say it opens up a bingo lane in row B, but only for a word beginning with O. 12 points, that's really pretty rubbish. But the rack leave is good. Sometimes you have to accept low scores. And since I am behind, a bingo is now a priority, so there is a premium on a good rack leave, and this is a good rack leave. So, what do I have? It's, well, staring. Whether or not it's good, it doesn't play through the A of Synopia. Tirings and stiring are both good and both play in row G, making sell and tell. Pretty sure stiring and tirings are both good. Not sure if there are any other anagrams, any other 7-letter plays. And tirings will also play in column 13, pluralizing Synopia. So I should be bingoing. Now, do I have anything great in column O, beginning with LA? I have the ing ending on my rack, which makes it easier to look for plays. Can't see anything through the L and the A, or the Z and the A. So I haven't got any improvement on the bingos I've already mentioned. And great, they're not both blocked. Tirings is still available across here, as is stiring. I think I prefer tirings. May draw a challenge, and it scores more. 64 points. And a draw from hell from the bag. I'm 33 points behind. I could really have used a decent rack. This is anything but there are still 26 tiles in the bag. So the game is not lost. It may be worth changing, although the rack doesn't, the bag doesn't look that good. There are no blanks unplayed, no S's unplayed, 3 U's still to draw, so there's quite a lot of bad tiles and very few great tiles. So it may be worth playing on in the hope of catching up without needing a bingo, because the remaining tiles do not look particularly bingo-y. Now the W is my only consonant. It's also my only scoring tile. Now I can't really see what to do with this rack. Anything I do is going to be bad, and if that's the case, then you should change. In a play of, I have to play off an A. I can't keep 3 A's. If I played way at J2, it would only score 14 points, and it would leave 5 vowels. So changing is certainly better than that. I note for future reference that visit takes an E at the end, so there may be a big play from N10 across. 5-letter play. High scoring tile on the triple letter square, also making visit and the word being doubled. That could be a 50-point play, so I hope that spot stays open. I can't see any way of playing with this rack in and around tirings to score anything decent. My W simply doesn't go. So right now I'm thinking of changing. I'll wait to see what my opponent does in case he opens up a good spot for me. If I don't play the W, then I just can't see a way of playing off a lot of vowels. 22 points for my opponent. That's a pretty good score for him. He is not opening up column 15 because hit only takes an S and they've all gone, as have the blanks. So I am going to change. Let's have a look how many vowels are left. 10 vowels out of 31. Okay. In which case, I am reasonably happy with keeping just the A, which is quite a useful tile. There's only 1 A in the bag. I'm not worried about keeping more vowels and consonants because the bag is consonant heavy. Not a great rack, but it is balanced. And I should be able to score. The problem is I'm 55 points behind and there aren't any great spots. But what about row N, the opportunity I mentioned earlier, playing my M, for example, at N10, 5-letter word with an E in 4th place. Or indeed a G on that spot. £16 points for my opponent, not a good score for him, but he doesn't need to score well to win, but I do. Still looking in row N to see if I can make that visite play. Huh. I'm surprised. I thought with either the G or the M and the balance that I have that I would have something, but I just can't make it 5 letters long. I've got game, mage. I don't have the second E for manage. Now 20 tiles left. Is there a way of opening the board up? I think I need to keep the row N spot available. I'm wondering about playing down column 14, something like ungags. Plays off a lot of tiles, doesn't really open the board up and provides an easy scoring opportunity for my opponent in column 15, so that's not good. Well, what about this? A Guga and Far. Does open the board up. There's 2 I's left, so with the retention of the N, I've got an ing ending word in row B. Fairly easy for my opponent to obstruct it. 17 points. I'm keeping the M and the E, which could be useful in row N. And I haven't seen anything better. I would have point men through an I. I don't have a 7. Do I have a row N play with either the P or the M at N10? Well, a little surprisingly, I don't think I do. Oh, I have Moten. I have Moten. Now, what does that score? 35 points. That's exactly what I was looking for. And it resolves the duplicate N. At the moment, I'm 54 points behind, so I'm still an underdog, but Moten may give me hope. It doesn't provide too much for my opponent, and hopefully my opponent will busy himself in blocking the Guga opportunities. And with a bit of luck, he won't score a great deal in doing so. This board is not bingo-y, so focus now goes to scoring well with the high scoring tiles, and there are quite a few of them left. There's the V, W, Y, M, F and B. Now I ought to draw 1 or more of those after Moten. So the ideal scenario is my opponent doesn't score much, which has happened. I score quite a bit more with Moten, and I draw well. Let's see what happens. Well, good and bad. I have drawn some of these high-scoring tiles, and I do have a couple of vowels, and the bag is now vowel-heavy. So, can I overtake my opponent? I'm 38 points behind, so it's unlikely. But I really need him to start, or to continue, scoring poorly. Now, he may have the D, in which case he's got visited, and there are two R's, and visitor is good. So he could score a little bit by playing in row O, or a lot if he starts from O11 across. Unfortunately, I don't have a D or an R to play in that spot. The ING bingo lane in row B remains available, and I think I will try and keep that open and try and keep hold of my N. There are two I's to draw. My opponent may have difficulty blocking that spot without opening up row A. So I'm looking at playing off... Oh, well, that's a good score for my opponent. That may well be enough, unless I can get a bingo in row B, but that's unlikely with my current rack. There are only 5 tiles left. Now what I'm thinking about doing is playing Yao down here. 23 points. Yao takes an E and an L after it. It's possible my opponent doesn't know the E hook, though he probably does. Now the question is, with a perfect pickup, do I have a bingo in row B? Because that would probably win me the game. And I don't think I... what about repaving? What would that require a draw of? An R, and A, and an I. Well, an R, an A, and an I are in the bag. So that's possible. Yao scores 23 points. Can I play Yao elsewhere for more? Because it would be a shame if I allowed my opponent to score well in column 2 or across row O as a result of playing Yao, such that repaving doesn't win if I play it. I'm looking around to see if there is another spot for Yao, and I can't see it. So here we go. A-I-R. No. Okay. Now I am 42 points behind, so this is a lost game, I believe. But I now need to try and minimize my losing spread. The remaining tiles are pretty good for my opponent. He probably has got a good play in column 2 or row O. If he doesn't take the Yao, the row O spot, I've got naive, N-A-E-V-E, which would score quite well. 46 points. Well, that's interesting. Maybe if my opponent scores very, very little right now, naive could give me a chance. I'm wondering about peeve, P-E-A-V-E. Gosh. Okay. Not sure about all that. It would score 6 more points, but it would then deprive me of having the P on the final turn. 2 tiles in the bag. So that might prevent my opponent from going out in 2 from this spot. From this moment on, rather. My opponent's got 5 minutes on his clock. I've got 5.5. But with only 2 tiles left, neither of us is really in time trouble. Now if the row O spot is taken, well, suppose it's not taken. Do I have something better in column 2? I've got the A for going in front of YU. Well, 27 points for my opponent. No tiles left. Let me see what naive looks like. It's 46 points. So I'd be on 365. I'd be 23 behind. Yeah, I think I'm too far behind to win. So, do I try peeve in this spot? That would leave A, N. Don't think there's very much in it because PA is going to give me more scoring opportunities with my final move. I don't think my opponent can go out, but even if he can, I think naive is likely to be, or naive or peeve is likely to be best. So I need to consider where I can play PA. I've got Pia at J12 across. 15 points. I've got, well, I haven't actually seen a second play yet. Well, there's Pal at F9 across. 15 points. These aren't going to be enough. Whatever my opponent scores is going to be enough for him to win. Of course, if he phonies, then I win. But that's a bit of a forlorn hope. I'm looking around to see what the best I can do with par. Well, I've got par at B1 across. 16 points. My opponent has 3 minutes left on his clock. He's probably looking to do the best he can with his remaining letters. I don't think he has an outplay. I was thinking about par in column 14, but I don't think Fana is good. Now my opponent's got 14 points, so he now has a 37-point lead. He loses 8 on countback, so I need to score 29 to draw. That is not going to happen, unfortunately, unless there's something amazing that I've missed. Now my opponent's play of Izar has not opened up anything for me. So this was the best I'd seen. 16 points. I'm quickly going to scan the board from top to bottom to see if I can see anything better. Only 15 for Pal in row F. And par in row J didn't score as much. I'm just down to row M at the moment. Right, that's it. That's the best I can do, par for 16. Just wait for my opponent to formally end the game, which he does. And the final score is 389 to me, 402 for my opponent. A win by 13 points, so well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. And I hope I haven't missed a bingo, but we're about to find out. My opponent went first. I played abject, that looks best. Ooh, both blanks for my opponent. Always nice. Great, this was a play where a rack where I thought I may have had a bingo. I didn't. I could have played row jacks at E1, This is where I played Jows for 42 points. So I could have got 6 more points, kept WI. I actually prefer Jows. It's a better rack leave. It doesn't open up column 1. This is where I played Haiku. I could have played Haikai for 2 more points, but it would have retained the U, so Haiku I think is better. Nice bingo by my opponent, Sinopia. And Nyala looks best. Right, this is the racking question where I think I may have missed something. Ooh, there was. There was Koistrels through EL. Wow. That's actually a bad miss. Although it's a 9-letter word, because I had 2 S's, I could mentally forget about one of them. And then I should have seen cloister and thought about its anagrams, one of which was Koistrel. So I think that's the critical move in this game, and that was a miss. Didn't see it. And what did I do? I played Cobbs for 26 points, which, if Koistrels wasn't playable, I think would have been a reasonable play, but Koistrels was the miss. And my play allowed my opponent to play Coxed, which he wouldn't otherwise have done. No bingos here and all low-scoring plays, so I think did for 12 is actually fine since the rack leave is pretty good. Tirings and Styring were the 2 I considered. The one I didn't consider was Tirelings at N4. Okay, again going through EL. That's quite a promising 2-letter set, but I think Tirings at C10. Oh, okay, well Tirings and Rolls is what's being suggested. I scored 1 point fewer for Tirings and Tell. Yeah. Tirings and Rolls may well have been better, I think. It would have opened up more floaters. This was an awful rack. This is where I changed. And all of the suggestions there, score very little and keep a ludicrous amount of vowels. So I think changing is best. Now, here, A12, Mugger and Far. Okay, this is where I played Guga, which I think is a similar idea, and I think the rack leave is better, but I am sacrificing 12 points. So, difficult to be sure if this move was suboptimal. I don't think it was suboptimal by much, but it may have been. Net ops at B14. Okay, yep, that's quite nice. Parallel to run. 42 points is a big score. I got 7 fewer points for Moten, which isn't too far behind. Ooh, Envoys. 57 points at B14. Oh wow, making Earn, Gov, Fano and placing the Y on the 3-letter score. That would have been fantastic. Just what I needed. It would have brought me back to within 8 points of my opponent. And I'd have kept scoring tiles in the P and the W. It would have been a much closer end game. Should really have, well, it would be nice to have spotted that. I think it's always difficult to spot words which rely on making a lot of small words. But even so, 57 points for a common English word was available. Instead I got, 34 fewer points. Even more galling given that I only lost by 13 or 14 points. Anyway. Now, why isn't that coming up? Oh, okay. Let me pause this and re-establish the connection. Okay, connection restored. Now, this is where I played Naive. And looks like Paive was not good. And Naive looks like it was best. Let's see what my opponent could have done here. Well, he couldn't go out. And he played Izar for 14. And I played par at B1 and that was the best for 16 points. So a narrow loss in the end by 21 points, is it? No, by 13 points. And two big mistakes in that game by me, missing Koistrels and missing Envoys, which demonstrates two things. Firstly, the importance of bingos, which is fairly obvious given the massive 50-point bonus you get, but also don't give up. The Envoys rack looked pretty unpromising. I had a V, W, Y and P. I was a long way behind. Didn't look a great rack, but there was a great play available in column 14, and if I'd have played Envoys, I'd have been right back in the game and could have won. So don't be too quick to blame your luck. Skill does play a major part in Scrabble, and you can't do anything about the luck, but you can do a lot about the skill. Anyway, Scrabble is a great game. It's really difficult to play well, and every game presents 14 or 12 wonderful challenges with the racks to try and find the winningest play, and it's rarely easy. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed watching that game and got something out of it. My name's David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.